fortunate to have Allan Roberts with us, and who has an amazing story. And he's going to be telling us about his background, what he does. And I'm really happy that Allan can join us. So, Allan, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, my story starts not long after the First World War. I was born literally a few weeks after the Second World War ended. And I had great parents, and they encouraged me to work and learn, and I could read and write and do basic maths by the time I started school at 5 years old. Remembering that in those days there was no nurseries, preschools, or anything like that. So when children went to school at 5 years old, the majority of them couldn't even do the alphabet, couldn't count. It was really bad. So I was probably 2 years ahead of most children that started school when I was 5 years old.
Amazing.
However, the school, or at least should I say one of my first teachers, didn't encourage us to work. She used a cane. If you got things wrong, you were punished. Now that was totally alien to me. And I got to the point where I was actually frightened of going to school. And I was so nervous I would get things wrong. And therefore I'd get more punishment. And it was just, I couldn't win. And one day I was at the front of the class waiting to be punished. And the teacher said, "You're too stupid to learn." And then sent me back to my desk without punishing me. That was a lesson in itself. I am actually quite a quick learner. If I'm too stupid to learn, I don't get punished. So I started deliberately being stupid, and I got away with it. But I stopped learning. And so I had 10 years at that school where I just learned nothing. I made no advancement in that 10 years.
So you avoided getting punished by acting that way. Which part of the world was that?
I'm in the UK.
And particularly in the UK, when you grew up?
Yeah, I was up in Lancashire, my hometown, in Preston, my hometown.
Brilliant.
So I learned nothing, and I left school on my 15th birthday with no qualifications, nothing. My father sent me for further education, but it was another school, and I had that same mindset. So I just wasted my time, did nothing. And one day I was sat in class, or I say sat, I had on my arms kind of sleeping in class because that's the way I taught myself, and I learned nothing. And I suddenly sat up and I thought, what am I doing here? I may as well drop out of further education and go out and get a job. And the only job I could think of at the time was a road sweeper, because they'd have a trolley, some bins on it, a brush and shovel, and they'd just push it down the street and sweep the streets. I couldn't think of anything more that I could do. However, before I got to the job centre, my 3 sisters talked to me. They talked about mindset, something I don't think most people even heard of, 75 years ago. Or not 75, 64 years ago. So one taught me to work and learn. One taught me how to support and care for other people. And my 3rd sister taught me how to make money. Well, it was such an impact on me. I immediately started talking to my friends about mindset. And instead of getting a menial job, I went for a technical job as a radio and television engineer. And my boss said I had to go to college and get a technical training. Now, my mindset was changed so much. Instead of saying to myself, I'm going to get through this course, I said to myself, I'm going to be top of my class. That was a total change. And I went into the class very, very early because I decided I was going to have one of the front two seats right in the middle, so there'd be no distractions. And the student next to me, his name was Pete. He was much older than me. And at the end of the day, I'd been taking notes. I'd been answering all the questions. I was really switched on. And Pete turned to me and he said, I haven't got a clue what he's been talking about. It was just way beyond him. Now, I'd already planned that evening. I was going to study my notes until I understood them. I was going to rewrite them into a best book so they're neat and tidy and easy to understand. And then I was going to spend a second evening revising and doing my homework. So I went round to his house on that second evening, and I taught him everything he should have learned that week. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but teaching is one of the best ways to learn a subject. The result was Pete and I came top of the class week after week, month after month, and year after year. And all of a sudden, I got back what I call my yearning for learning, and I wanted more. Now, I couldn't go to university because I'd got no GCEs or anything like that. But the one place I could go where I could get the highest level of technical training was in the army, because the army is huge and everybody has to be able to communicate with each other. And the people in charge of communications have got to be really on the ball to keep everything working. That's the job I wanted. So I joined the army, put on a high-tech training course with the same mindset. I was going to be the top. And out of the 35 people that started that course, only 5 actually passed.
Amazing.
And my average mark was between 97 and 98%. So I really walked through it with no hassle at all. I got posted out to the Middle East. And again, that mindset, I'm going to stand out from all the other technicians. And I excelled. And I earned myself a luxury posting, putting sole charge of a telephone exchange on an RAF fighter base. If anything went wrong, responsibility came totally down to me. So I was actually getting responsibilities way above my grade, my rank, and so on. And that was how my army career continued. My civilian life continued, and that's the way I have been ever since. Now, that mindset shift has pushed me. This is 64 years later, and I'm still driven. And that's what I wanted for other teenagers. So from 16 onwards, I've been pushing, teaching, training, mentoring, and coaching all the students that I could find. And I'm still doing that today. Now, other things have happened where I've had to push and start all over again, but I lost my eyesight in 2009. It was literally in the space of less than 20 minutes. I went from driving my car to being completely blind. But that was at retirement age. And most people at retirement of age would have just said, oh my goodness, I can't see, it's the end of the world, pack up, give up, and achieve nothing. To me, I just thought, I can't see, I've got to change direction, I've got to do something different. And I'm driven to carry on. And I thought, well, what can I do? I was kind of trapped at home. And I thought, well, what about voluntary work?
Yeah, can I ask Alan, what caused the blindness?
I'm diabetic, and it wasn't diagnosed. So I went 14 years without it being diagnosed. And when it was diagnosed, it was already taking a hold of me. So, I lost my sight.
Yeah. And how did you overcome that? Because that can be quite devastating, obviously.
For the average person, yes, it is. It really just knocks them and they're finished. But I've been training my mindset all that time. And I've overcome obstacles. I've overcome no education and was successful. I was deliberately crippled financially, but hundreds of thousands of pounds in debt. I lost my home, I lost my family, I lost my dogs, I lost my possessions. I was homeless out on the streets, and I was still deep in debt. And now, once I got myself accommodation, step two, cleared my debt. I thought it'd take me 8 years to clear my debt and make £1 million. So I worked for 5 years. I cleared my debt something like 5 times the average wage per year, right? For 5 years. And then I cleared my debt, and I thought 3 more years, I'll be a millionaire. And that, a month later, that's when I lost my eyesight. So my coaching practice couldn't continue.
Right.
So, you know, I was broke. I wasn't in debt, but I was broke. I had nothing. So I then started, and I thought, what can I do? And I thought, well, I can do voluntary work. So I started contacting charities and voluntary organizations. Believe it or not, the first 30 turned me down flat. Just weren't interested. You're blind, you can't help us. That was it.
That is shocking.
Right. And that was worse than when I felt worse than when I was cold and hungry and homeless out on the streets, because then I felt, well, once I get back on somewhere, I can start working again. I can do things. But now I felt useless and unwanted. And that's a horrendous feeling. But I persist. So I carried on. And one day, a lady, her name's Alison, who was the manager at Worcester Association of Carers, simply answered, I said, I'm blind. She simply said, if you can ring us, you can work for us. She said, carers care for their parents, their spouses, their children, friends, neighbors, and relatives, but nobody cares about the carer.
That's a good point.
Right? So she wanted me to ring carers and support them. Now, it's only a 20-minute phone call once a month for each carer on my list. And I thought, well, I can do that, and I feel useful again. So I started doing that. And I've done that every week now for 15 years, except for the last few months because I've been seriously ill. But apart from that, I've done it consistently for 15 years.
Brilliant. Is that a charity, or is it you being paid for that role?
No, it's a charity. It's just a voluntary role. So I thought, well, what else can I do? And I kept on contacting people, and I got the RNIB, Royal National Institute for the Blind, talking books. So I was listening to these talking books, and they're absolutely amazing. So I was keeping, talking to the carers and listening to these books. And one day I got one of these talking books, and it said they want volunteers. I thought, well, let's give them a go. So I rang them up and went through a whole list of things they wanted volunteers to do, but they wanted people to go out and support blind people, which was I couldn't do that because I couldn't get out. The only thing that was on the list that I thought I could do was public speaking. Now, I've never done public speaking before, but I thought, well, what's to stop me? So I went for training. They trained me what they wanted me to talk about, and I had my own experience. Well, I can do that. So that's what I started doing. And that got me into public speaking. And I thought, I'm not that good at it. So I joined Toastmasters.
Right.
So I learned to improve my speaking, and I got bigger events, and I introduced public speaking to my local high school. I got everywhere. And then other things started happening. I became a town councillor. I became a trustee for Age UK. I became a trustee for a local community centre. Things like that started happening. So
that's great, Alan.
yeah, I saw the opportunities and I would jump at them because it means I'm keeping myself busy and active, keeping my brain active. And so it went on. And then one day I thought, this is actually only doing things that anybody can do. I want a personal challenge. And I thought, what can I do as a challenge? When you can't see to read or write, what do you do?
Right.
Precisely. Right. I decided I'd write a book. Okay. So I went to Sight Concern, another charity. They taught me about making progress after you've lost your sight. They taught me cookery, so I could start improving my own cookery, because I've always cooked my own food from scratch, so I know exactly what I'm eating. So I always eat healthily. And then they put me on a woodworking course, and I was able to make a bird table and a hay wain, you know, to put plant pots in. You know what a hay wain is?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's a miniature one. I can put plant pots in and things. And I was enjoying that. And then they came up with a computer course. And I jumped at this opportunity to go on the computer course. They taught me software for the blind, so I could get back onto a computer. And they taught me software to touch type. So I was able to actually use the keys without seeing them. And I started writing. And I wrote a personal development book. I got carried away because I followed up with 2 novels.
Yes.
I had those published about 2015-ish, somewhere around there.
And what was your personal development book? What's that called?
My personal development book was called Wake Up, Don't Let the World Pass You By.
Fantastic. And where can you get hold of that?
Well, about 10 years ago, I had surgery on both eyes, which gave me very basic sight. It's not good sight. You know, I still walk into lampposts and things like that. I always apologize to them because they won't walk into me. So it must be my fault. So it got me able to see enough. And I've got a fairly big screen. So if I put my book onto my screen, I could go through it and reread it.
Right.
But then I discovered the publishers didn't even edit my books. They didn't do anything. They simply published them as I'd written them. Now, when you're listening to something, you don't pick up mistakes. You just accept what it, you know. It was just chock-a-block with mistakes. It was horrendous. So I couldn't afford a proper editor.
Right.
So I went through it myself, trying to edit it to my level, and I had it republished. I had that republished, I think that was 2019. I'm not losing track of dates, but I think that was 2019. I finally got through it and had it republished. So there's a second edition. For some reason, they won't remove the originals. I've had a problem with them. So the originals are still there, but the second edition is still available.
And where can they get hold of it?
It is on Amazon. I haven't got a link because I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm struggling.
We can share the link on later on.
My book. I don't know if you can see it.
So don't let the world pass you by.
Yeah, wake up. Don't let the world pass you by.
Excellent. Yes, we'll make sure people know where to get hold of it. And the novels. Tell me about the novels.
Well, one was based on the incident that cost me my house, cost me all my money. So I wrote a novel about how, or part of how I lost all the money.
Right.
I had, I'd been put in debt, and I'd taken insurance out with the bank, and the bank, when I was made redundant, and the bank wouldn't pay the debts. And because they wouldn't pay the debts, I lost my house, I lost everything, you know. So I wanted a novel about that, but I'm not angry with the bank. I didn't want to run the bank down. What I wanted was a win-win situation. So
Okay.
I wrote a novel so that the bank changed its attitude, changed its directors, and it became a win-win situation. So it was just a story, just to get the out of my system, if I can say it that way.
And what's the title of that book?
The Great Bank Heist Mystery.
The Great Bank Heist Mystery. And that's on Amazon as well?
It is, yeah. Again, that was republished, but to my standard sort of thing, rather than professionally edited. So we did that. So that's my books on there. And I thought, well, I can still get my information out as courses. I can't coach online anymore. I can't do the technical side. Major problems, not being able to use my computer properly. I can't see instructions, and I was going around in circles. I could do the writing, it's straightforward typing, but the rest of it, anything technical, was just too big a problem. Yeah. So it was easier to do other things. So I thought, well, if I can convert my coaching to a written program, and do it as a self-paced program, I could put those online. But I've had lots of problems trying to get something online. I don't post because it's time consuming, and I don't see the real benefit. So it was a struggle. I'd prefer to do the volunteering. I was volunteering, mentoring the children that fall behind at school because of bullying and abuse. I was doing, with Sight Concern, I was doing Worcester Association of Carers, RNIB, and that was a kind of full-time life. And I got involved in all these different charities and the town council work and all that sort of thing. And so I had a full-time
diary.
Yeah, so my programs were kind of slow, and I thought, well, I need to do something more positive. So in 2019, I've always been a keep fit fanatic, and I'd lost over 70 pounds in weight when I was homeless out on the streets because I had no money for food. Okay. And I needed to build up again. And I thought, right, what I can do is I can train down at the gym, and I can cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats, which is the full length of the UK. And I'm not allowed on a cycle on the motorways. I've got to take all the side roads and avoiding any dangerous roads. It's about 1,000 miles the way I would have had to do it.
That's tough, even when you're sighted.
Right. Now, with a team, and it would have been, what do you call those bikes? You lay on your back and pedal in front of you.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Anyway, it was a three-wheeler, and I was going to do that, and I'd be accompanied with some obviously sighted people, and I was going to do that to raise money for the charities. And 2 weeks before I was due to do it, in April 2020, we had the COVID lockdown. And everything like that was stopped, and I couldn't do it. So I thought, what else can I do? And I was searching around, and I thought, I know, I was getting onto stages. I'd already done a keynote speaker at a big conference, and I thought, right, I was getting paid for those. So if I spent a year doing a professional public speaking program, I can go on bigger stages and earn more money for the charities, because that's what it was all about. So I actually took 2 public speaking programs, professional public speaking programs, both of them 12 months,
right,
to get onto these bigger stages. The only thing was, with COVID, all these big conferences disappeared. Everybody went on to Zoom, and the opportunity for the big conferences just disappeared, and they're only just coming back, and most of them are really run on Zoom now. So those opportunities have kind of gone. So it's been a case of look around, see what else I can do. So I've come across a new platform now where I can put my programs onto the platform, have them converted into, well, my plan was to have 8 programs on there, each one in 7 different languages, and promote them worldwide, and carry on writing some books. So unfortunately, for the last 12 months, I started being ill April of last year.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, everything went wrong. I haven't made any progress. I had a major campaign for Christmas, all had to be cancelled. I was going to dress up as Santa, so I grew my beard till it was down here. It all had to be cancelled. So I'm now working with my web builder. I've been teaching, training, mentoring and coaching alongside my engineering career for the whole 64 years. So I've got so much knowledge there. I suddenly realized I can now create a series of mindset books, right? And I'm talking about 20, maybe 30 books.
Fantastic.
So that's what I'm working on now. But obviously I need a bit of help. So I'm working with 1 or 2 people to get me that support, and hopefully before the end of the month I will have 1 or 2 more programs or books on the platform. I've got a book on public speaking. It's now being formatted, and it will go onto my website as soon as my builder can get on.
What's your website address, even though it's not ready yet?
My website, it's roughseasafeharbor.com. That's rough as in rough and smooth, sea as in sea and ocean, safe where you keep your money, and harbor where you keep your boats. And it's spelled with a U because I'm English. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, once that's ready, we'll look forward to seeing that. So you've had an amazing journey in your life to date. You're still overcoming challenges. So what message can you send to our viewers today about if they face challenges in their life and things that knock them back? What type of message can you give them?
I've had no education. I lost all my money. I lost my eyesight, and I'm still going ahead, and I'm successful with whatever I do because that mindset says be successful. It doesn't matter what problems you've had in your lifetime. You know, this what is it, the syndrome, imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough because I haven't done that. I'm not good enough because I'm too old, too young, too whatever. Right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you've gone through. You can achieve it. If you say to yourself, I'm going to do it, there's nothing to stop you. Honestly, there's just nothing to stop you, provided you want to do it. What can stop you?
That's a great message, Alan. You've overcome a tremendous number of challenges in your life, and that mindset is something that is remarkable. And we really appreciate you joining us today, and we wish you all the very best success in your books and your coaching and your speaking. It's been a real pleasure. And this is Raj Soren, Black Belt Mindset, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.